Good evening. Tonight we continue with our two-part series. Earlier this evening, my co-host, Soad Asfour, interviewed mothers who immigrated to the United States from the Middle East. They spoke about their experiences and raising children here in the Bay Area. With me tonight are the children of our earlier guests, who are all first-generation American and highly accomplished. I'm your host, Leyna Cotran, and welcome to Arab TV. First, welcome Dina, who is Dalia Abul-Ilzam's daughter. Dina is a first-generation Palestinian American living in Pleasanton. She attended UC Davis for her undergraduate studies and USC for graduate school, studying higher education administration. Her passion is helping students get admitted to college. She is married and is currently working as a business partner and program manager at Google. Welcome Christian, who is Laura Aid's son. He was born in San Francisco and has lived here all his life. His parents are originally from Lebanon, and he has visited Lebanon multiple times. He can read and write Arabic. He is active in the youth organization of Our Lady of Lebanon, serving as the president of the youth organization. He is currently a senior at St. Ignatius High School in San Francisco, where he is working to create the Middle Eastern Affinity Group, an organization that will bring Middle Eastern students together and expose respective Middle Eastern cultures. He will be a freshman at UCLA this fall. Welcome Yasmin, who is Dalia Naji's daughter. Yasmin is a junior at Ann Sobrado High School. Outside of school, she is active in school clubs, giving back to her community and working as a tutor at Kuman Learning Center. Her family is originally Syrian and Iraqi with Turkish and Russian descent. She is fluent in Arabic and English, and she is learning Spanish. She has traveled to Sri Lanka, Maldives, Jordan, Mexico, and numerous countries in Europe and Asia. She has spent many summers in the Middle East, and this summer, she intends to volunteer at a refugee camp overseas. So let's start with Dina. What was it like growing up with Middle Eastern parents?
I would say that my house was always lively, and there was always Arabic TV on in the background, and a lot of Arabic food. It was always very interesting to see the balance of what my parents brought into the house that made sure that we remembered where they came from in terms of memorabilia that was around, but also watching them try to teach us English, because Arabic was my first language. That's what they taught me at home.
Right.
So teach us English and make sure that we still had some American roots there, while always recognizing, their culture and what they brought with them when they moved here.
Right. Christian, what about for you?
Yeah, same thing. There's a duality involved growing up in America, but being, for me, Lebanese. And there's the food, there's the culture, there's music, there's dance, and there's the way my parents raised me. And all of that just comes together growing up in what is an American Lebanese household. So it just kind of meshes very nicely.
And Yasmin?
Similar to what Dina said, but in my situation, our first language was English, so our parents at home tried to mix that Arabic language and lifestyle, so they always enforced speaking Arabic at home and leaving the English for school. So to have that mix as well, but it was always the Arabic TV shows playing and the Arabic food, going to Arab events, so it was always a mix of both, but at home it was mainly Arabic.
Yeah, very good. So what values did you learn from your parents with respect to community? So Dina, we'll start with you again.
Throughout all of my time, whether through education or life, whenever I moved away or whatnot, I always felt this responsibility and this need and desire to come back to my community.
Right.
So, my main exposure when I was younger was my church community and my Arab community. And those are actually the friends that have lingered in my life this entire time. They've been kind of the constant, was my Arab community.
Right.
And so I believe they instilled that value in me. Like, you can go get educated, you can do whatever you want, but always bring it back.
Right.
Always bring it back to your community.
Right.
And that's kind of something that I've always lived by and kind of studied to be able to do, which is why I did higher education administration, because
Right.
I'm so adamant about making sure that our kids and our community can go to school and make big changes in the world. And I think that all came from my parents.
Right. And with that for you, Christian?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think bringing it back to the family, which is a very important value that I think most Middle Eastern families have, was a big part of the culture. And hard work, because our parents are not successful because it was easy. They had to work hard coming from a different country. So I kind of carried that through my education, working hard and always bringing it back to the family, because that was what I was taught was the most important thing.
Right. And Yasmin?
I'm very blessed that like I grew up around an Arab community, not just like the Arab community, but also like my religious community, like going to Sunday school and every Sunday. So I grew up around the same group of people, and it's expanded over the time, and I'm blessed for that because I have a big group of friends, and like if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have grew up around those people. So I have my school friends, and I have friends from my Arab community or from Sunday school or whatever, and we all have similar values, and we come from different families but similar ethics and morals. So that was very helpful growing up, that I had people who grew up like me.
So for all of you, when we talk about community, did you create other communities either in school or in extracurricular activities? Did you bring those lessons into other communities that you had?
Yeah, I would say so, but I think the strongest community, again, that was always there, that I always came back to, that I guess my heart was always just inclined to go back to, was my Middle Eastern community,
Right.
whether it was church or not. And I think, yeah, that's just something that I knew would always be there, and I just invested more time in those relationships.
Right. How about for you, Christian?
Yeah, totally. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm very involved with the Middle Eastern community at my church, at the youth group, so it's really nice to have a community of people who have undergone the same things you've gone through, and you come and you share your culture and you embrace it and you enjoy it. And at school we're working on that affinity group to bring together people of Middle Eastern background so that we can kind of learn to balance each other's ethnicities and celebrate that at school where maybe we're not the majority.
Right. How about for you, Yasmin?
Yeah, similar to what they said, whether it's in school events or outside of school, there are multicultural events, and I've had the opportunities to share my culture and be proud of it. So I have given back to like my community and shown the outstanding parts of our culture that a lot of people do not know of. So it was very, whether it's showing them your food or dances or whatever, like the debka, or like whatever, so there's like the Middle Eastern and Greek festivals every year.
Right.
So going to that and taking my friends to it, it shows and gives back to get to learn about our culture and the way we grew up.
Excellent, excellent. I want to talk about education. So what values did you learn from your parents with respect to education? Dina, we'll start with you.
My mom said I have to go to college and then I can get married. So that's what I did. No, I think it was just always instilled in me. I mean, my sister and I are both first-generation college students, and it was really important for my parents and for us to just study and get a degree and feel more comfortable and confident succeeding in this environment, in the United States, in this American culture, in this environment. And I think a degree here really speaks highly of you, and so that was something that they always valued, and I'm very grateful.
Right.
I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity. I recognize it's a privilege, and I've tried to take advantage of that privilege because I could.
Right.
And it's been very eye-opening too, because the people that you meet in college and you hear about their cultures and why they go to school, a lot of it kind of aligns with the way I was raised, is they're trying to make a change, and they just want a different life for themselves, and not necessarily that their families' lives were negative or bad in any way. It's just this American dream, I think, creates this idea that if you go to school and you get an education, you can have anything you want. And I truly believe that that can really make your dreams come true.
And you've grown in your career, obviously, working at Google. And,
Yeah. I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful that my parents were very supportive of me and what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, I was able to just succeed in that, thankfully, and hopefully continue to grow. Yeah.
Right. How about for you, Christian?
Yeah, I
You're
agree.
heading off to UCLA this fall.
I know.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I always go back to the story my dad used to tell me when he came to this country. He didn't speak English, so he would record his professor's lectures and then translate it word for word using an Arabic to English dictionary.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously he had to work very hard, so for me, I have the privilege not only of having an education, but of speaking the language. English is my first language as well. So the fact that I have that opportunity to go to school and get a degree and hopefully get a job to sustain my family is really what my parents came here for, so that their children and their children's children can, have a better life. So I'm really glad that, I'm going to college, because my parents definitely see it as a symbol of their success in coming to this country.
Absolutely, and I can relate to that too, as well. Yasmin, I know you're thinking about college.
Yeah. So similarly to what they said, same thing. Both my parents worked very hard to come here, and it's not only their goal but my goal to go to college and continue my education. So they've always been my role models, and whether them or my older sister, they continued college and then they mastered in something. So that has always been my goal, and I have never really thought of anything besides continuing my education to make them proud. And I really do value the struggles they went through to give me the opportunity to get an American education, have that American dream. So, and I'm very privileged to speak English and then now in Arabic and now learning Spanish. So that's a really big privilege compared to what my parents had to go through. And it wouldn't be without them for me to be here.
Yeah. So all three of you have talked about being multilingual. So, let's go through one by one. So Dina, do you speak Arabic?
I do. So English, Arabic, and Spanish.
Spanish. And how about you, Christian?
Yeah, the same three.
And the same three.
Yeah. For me, it was Arabic, French, and English.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's I find that a lot with Middle Eastern parents. They are multilingual, and they instill those as well in their children. I'm sure all of you have definitely experienced from that. So do you feel different than others at school growing up with Middle Eastern parents? I mean, most of you, if not all of you, have gone to general American schools. I don't know if any of you have done immersion programs or whatnot, but what was it like, being a Middle Eastern child, for example, and growing up in school here in the Bay Area?
I was always the one bringing the Lebanese sandwiches and hummus sandwiches to lunch, and everyone looking like, what? Very big fat Greek wedding, but so accurate. I don't know about for y'all, but it was so accurate for me. But it was different. I mean, it was obviously an adjustment because I was raised in a home that was Middle Eastern, and then to first go to school and realize, I guess I am a little different than people here. But it was great. I found people were pretty good at embracing who we are. I think when we're younger, that's very easy. You just tap someone on the shoulder and you're their friend. But as you get older, I think people are more either willing to ask questions or kind of recognize difference very easily.
Yes.
And so being Palestinian, I think it's a very interesting dynamic when someone asks you, what are you? And you're like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
But where are you from? And so to be quite honest, it took a while for me to be able to say I'm Palestinian, because I think there might be a lot of stigma or assumptions that kind of come with that.
Right.
So I found most of the difficulties or the challenges that I had was when I had to stand there and identify myself as being Arab American or identify myself as being Palestinian.
Right.
And so that is probably what created more of the challenge with myself in communicating with others.
Right.
But overall, I think it was great. I mean, I lived in California, moved to Arizona. That was a different experience. Being Arab American in Arizona, it probably had the darkest features there, and it was a struggle. And then moved back and found my California roots again. But yeah, I think it was a challenge in certain regards. But overall, I realized that I was different, but I was kind of proud of it. I knew I brought something else to the table, and not saying that in a conceited way. It's just our experiences and our culture has so much beauty to it.
Yes.
And I was able to recognize that when I communicated with other people.
Right. I remember the lunch days where I was the only one with pita bread.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. How about for you, Christian?
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously there's some racism or stereotyping that goes on, but it's nice to be able to educate people who don't know about our culture, and to bring out the, like you said, the beautiful aspects. So I encourage our friends to go to what we have, the Lebanese festival in Redwood City that our church puts on, because that's kind of the nicer aspect that doesn't get shown so much in modern media.
Right.
Because a lot of times all you see is like terrorism and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate that that's what gets depicted, but it's nice that to my friends, I hope that I could be a beacon of what's good about our culture.
Wonderful. And how about for you, Yasmin?
I found it funny how you both brought up the food. We were always that kid that pulled out like the mortadella sandwich, like wrapped in pita bread, or the cucumber wrapped.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
It was
or like
not, no.
So I mean, I was always asked like where I was from. I was either like thought to be Latina, or you know, they never really expected Middle Eastern, because not a lot of kids know where that is. So, but I was always questioned for my name. If it wasn't Yasmin, it would be Jasmine, so they would just think I was Latina. So, but I mean, at school, I would say over time, as I matured, I did become more proud of who I am and my culture. And I openly say that, but like now if anyone asks me, I'll say that I'm Middle Eastern and where I'm from. And I find it surprising how much, like, some people may not know where that is or where, and they'll ask me and I'll openly answer their questions. And I'll tell them about the festivals that you guys talked about. And they're usually interested in our foods. Like, they'll hear about, like, you know, like they'll go to a shawarma place or like ask what it is. So yeah, I think over time, and I've been, I don't know how to say it, but when I was younger, I wasn't really asked where I was from, but I think now over time, like in high school especially, like people are interested in where I'm from. Yeah. And I don't mind sharing that, and I'm proud to share where I'm from. And I can't wait for college. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be more, like you're going to meet more people. There's going to be people from more diverse areas, so
let's talk about college, because I know everyone's in different time. But I know for me, when I moved away for college, I really missed my home life, missed the food, and missed the community. And Dina, you also moved away for college. So did you lose touch with the culture, or did you try to stay in touch? I mean, what did you do to kind of keep that alive for you?
Well, luckily for undergrad, I was at Davis, and that was about 2 hours in a train. So I wasn't too far away, and I kind of made a point of that, so I would always be close to family and my community. But I definitely missed it, even though I was 2 hours away. There was an Arab community in my school. I was lightly involved in it. I think I was just so attached to what I had at home and everything I had invested in that's where I found myself more. And then when I went to LA, to USC for graduate school, that's where I felt the most attachment. That was very difficult for me, and I quickly came back to the Bay Area after I was done, so I could be closer to home. But it was definitely a yearning that I found when I was away from it, physically away from it. I mean, it was always in my heart, but it's not the same when you're not around it, at least for me.
And Christian, for you, you're going off in the fall, so do you worry about losing some touch with what you know from home?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'll miss my mom's cooking.
Yeah.
But I know there's a big Lebanese community in LA, so that's nice, that's reassuring. And I have friends who go to UCLA, and they tell me there's a Lebanese club, and so that's one of the top things I look forward to doing, being involved there with the community, because I don't want to disconnect from our culture. It's been such an integral part of my life that I can't leave it behind. It's part of who I am now. So yeah, there's definitely some anxiety in leaving, but hopefully it's going to be just another community that I'm a part of.
Right. And how about you, Yasmin, as you think about college, does it affect your decision making and whether you're going to move far or stay nearby?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, it's hard to think about moving away. I mean, we're not really used to like moving away. I've always been really close to my family. But I mean, going off to college it's going to be a different experience. Right. I definitely don't want to go too far because I am very like family oriented. I love being around my family. But I also look about, like as they said about the community, I have a big group of Arab friends at UC Davis. So I always hear about how like, you know, they have each other, and like when their families visit, they cook for each other. So they still share those, like they have home far away from home.
Right.
So I always hear from my older friends, you know, there's like a SU Divest in group in San Jose State. So I always hear about their events, and I do go to some of them. So that does make me a little bit excited about college, that I want to be a part of that. So I'm looking forward to that.
So in talking about family, we got to talk about siblings.
Yeah.
So every one of you have really unique situations with siblings. We'll start with Dina. So you are one of
two,
and you are
I'm the youngest. My sister's older.
So have the two of you retained the culture? I mean, what has that been like for the both of you?
Yeah, we both did it in very different ways. So my sister actually moved to the East Coast about 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, and she's married. She married a Greek-Italian man, and she's still in her, it's a beautiful thing. I just love them. But she's still very involved in her community. She actually has a podcast called Palestinians Podcast, where she interviews people and shares stories of Palestinians to rehumanize us as a people. And she's done very well, and she travels and has live shows around the country, and so that's really her way of not only maintaining her roots, but also giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful thing, because she's kind of created a community around herself. She didn't have to stay and I've interpreted it as I have to stay next to my family and give back to my own community, and she's kind of doing it in her own way and creating her own community around her platform. So she's doing really big things out there, but we've both found a way of staying connected.
Yeah, that's great. Christian, what about for you?
Well, I have 3 younger sisters. I'm the oldest, so...
We would call you the trailblazer.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. But it's nice because my 2 older sisters, the youngest one's still too young. She's still in the children's group, but they're in the youth group with me. So it's nice for them to be with me together, and we all do the same things. We go on retreats, we perform our dubgit at the festival, and so it's really a place where we come together, and it's another aspect we share. It's always like a competition to see who has the best Arabic playlist on Spotify or something.
Right. What about you for Yasmin?
In my situation, I have an older half sister and a younger brother. So my sister, she has an American mom, so she was brought up on a lot of like American lifestyles. So she grew up differently than I did. So growing up as a little girl, like I always questioned, why am I not allowed to do that? Like she was able to do this, why can't I do that?
Right.
It was very hard for me to accept that I have 2 Middle Eastern parents. So like their rules are different than how other like parents might like bring up their children.
Right.
So that was a struggle, but I mean, over like the years, I began to understand why my parents made those rules.
Right.
And that's the way they were brought up. So, but so she does not speak Arabic, but my younger brother, we try speaking Arabic to him at home, but he didn't get that experience that I did growing up. I spent every year in Syria for 2 months every summer. So I was put in like an Arabic writing class. And I always played with the neighbors. So I got that experience of picking up the language easily. So he did not get that. I mean, war broke out in Syria in 2011, and he was a toddler. So ever since then, he didn't get to spend those summers that I did playing with kids and only being forced to speak in Arabic, which helped make me fluent today. So I mean, we try our best at home, but it's hard because at school he speaks English, and I have a bad habit of speaking to him in English. So I mean, I really hope that does pick up, and I'll help him get better at Arabic. And so I mean, that's pretty much what has been happening. But
so with all of you, how do you handle the duality of being American and then being Middle Eastern? What is that like for you? Is it a struggle? Is it a beauty? I mean, what is it? We'll start with Dina.
I think it's a privilege.
Yeah, great.
I do. I think it's a privilege. I think we have such a great culture and so many beautiful traditions, and we're in a place where we can kind of choose and appreciate whatever we can from our Middle Eastern roots, and also recognize the opportunities that we have as Americans and take advantage of those as well. So I view our duality as a privilege, and I think the only struggle is figuring out how we're going to combine those together and make sure that we're taking advantage as much as we can.
Right.
But yeah, I don't necessarily, I mean, there's moments where it could be challenging, right? Your parents are telling you one thing at home and you want to do something completely different when you're in school. That's, that's a daily struggle. When I was younger, that was always what I went through. But in the back of my mind, like, that's a privilege to be able to have parents who are there guiding you and giving you this beautiful culture, while also wanting you to succeed and do well in the American culture. So I don't know if it's as much of a challenge as it is just something to appreciate, for me at least.
How about for you,
Yeah.
Christian?
I mean, I never felt ashamed of being Lebanese, Lebanese American, but it's nice to have that duality, like you said, because in America I feel more Lebanese, and when I go back to Lebanon I feel, American. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, like they're two different cultures, but we live in America, and it's great to have both influencing us because they're both great cultures, and it's nice to grow up in a household where they're not contrasting each other, they come together.
Yeah, they definitely are complementary. How about for you, Yasmin?
I also do find it as a privilege. I am very blessed that we have, my family's very, they enforce the culture and the traditions and, the food and all those aspects which stand out, and it's what makes me a well-rounded person today. I have some friends who, I realize their life doesn't have as much traditions, or because, we stand out in school because we were brought up differently.
Right.
So I mean, those were challenges because sometimes we never understood why we weren't allowed to do things that everyone else was allowed to do. But over the years, it does make sense why, and I am blessed that, I've held on to those aspects of our culture, and that my parents, I mean, as much as it sometimes hurt to not be allowed to do certain things, I'm blessed that this is how I was brought up, and I wouldn't change anything about it.
And for our last question for the evening, so for children of immigrant parents that face balancing dual cultures, what advice do you have for them, Dina?
I'm just, again, embrace it. Everything your parents say might be annoying to you right now, but there's a reason behind it, and there are good things that come of it. And so I would say just take advantage of the opportunities that you have as an American, and also of the traditions and culture that come with being Middle Eastern. And I'm a huge fan of just bringing everything back to your community. Go do what you have to do for yourself, succeed in everything that you are, but it's always good to give back to our own people.
Christian?
Yeah, definitely embrace it. I think we come from a great culture, and you can just be proud of who you are. It's a great aspect of your character, and we have to really shine where we are because we should be proud of who we are.
And Yasmin?
Similarly to what they said, I mean, it's important to embrace it because I do have, I have other friends who, they never really liked listening to Arabic music or watching Arabic TV shows, or they didn't want anything to do with their origin. And I mean, I don't completely blame it on the kids either. I mean, sometimes it's, coming to this country, the parents won't, I'm sure they try their hardest, but there's some kids who don't like embracing their culture.
Right.
And it is important to do so, and to carry it on over generations. It's my goal for my kids to speak Arabic fluently and to live the life that I did as
Definitely.
well. So.
Well, we're out of time, so thank you so much for our guests this evening,
Thank
Dina,
you.
Thank you.
Christian, and Yasmin.
Thank you.
I'm Leyna Cotran. This is ATV. Good night.